Welcome to Untitled Your Coaching Practice podcast. I'm Stephanie Dozier, clinical nutritionist, certified intuitive eating counselor, and creator of the Going to Beyond the Food method. And after a 25-year dieting career, I decided to say hell no to diet culture and undiet my life, which also included my coaching practice. I'm on a mission to help all coaches undiet not only their life, but their coaching business. If you want to throw down diet culture, you're in the right place. Ready, sisters? Let's do this. Hello, my dear colleagues, and welcome back to Untitled Your Coaching Practice podcast. How you doing? I'm going to talk about a hot topic today, social media. And I've been in this business for 10 years now. And that's when I came into the health world. That was the beginning of social media. So I have been there from the beginning to where it is today. I've had all the spectrum of emotion, right? So I'm connecting with all of you that you are at the beginning of your business and you're just all over social media because you think that's the gateway for you to work with people, impact people, grow your business, or that you are an experienced coach and you're like, oh my God, this is my nemesis. How am I going to get it done? Does it really matter what I do on there? I'm overwhelmed by it. Like all of it is what we're going to talk about today. And I'd like to share with you an analogy that perhaps will give you a different perspective on social media before we get to talking with Andrea today. Often the way we approach a marketing tool like social media, because truly that's what social media is. It's a tool, one of the many tools that you have or should have in your business in order to market your business and get, in our case, new clients. We often approach it in a very diet culture way. I believe there is such a thing as diet culture marketing, and it lies into the same belief system as diet culture for food or body image. It lies into the space that there is one way of doing marketing, and everybody's got to do this one way. And here's another aspect of diet culture marketing that you will clearly connect with. Diet culture marketing is like that one way for everybody, but it's also based on external cue, right? The look, the imagery you're using, the on-trend tactics that you're using. And it can go as far as what type of images you're using. If you're using your physical attribute in order to show up in the feed of people, to use your attribute that will make the social media platform like you more than other people, and you're basing your strategy based on this, or using this and it doesn't feel good because it doesn't respect your internal value. So this analogy of diet culture marketing is often where we get ourselves stuck. So I really want you to reflect on this before or as you listen to the podcast interview. How is my approach to marketing? Is it the non-diet approach? Is it based on my inner world? Is it based on my values? Is it based on my ethic? Is it based on freedom for every bodies and every mind? And is it because I don't allow myself to approach it in a completely different way? And that's why I have Andrea on the podcast today, because she's one of the few social media specialists. She calls herself a strategist, expert, that approach social media specifically for our type of business. Thought leaders, coaches, professional, and not influencer-based social media. And you'll hear her talk about that a few times in the interview. But, and this is why She's a person that I look up to when it comes to social media. She does it grounded in ethical values, right? Doing social media from a place of value, giving value to people, but respecting your value as well. I actually met Andrea a few years ago in a mastermind led by Rachel Rogers, and she's been my go-to person since then. So I'm really excited to be introducing her to you. And she's got a great tool at the end. It's a free course that she built about social media. And no matter where you are in your business, if social media is a point of contention for you, a point of struggle, a point of stress, I would highly recommend that you go and grab and do the free course, because it's really going to help you view social media differently. So we're going to talk about how we can use social media to make a difference in the world while growing a business. How do we need to approach social media to achieve both of our goals? How to remain ethical on social media, how to grow our audience on social media without overwhelming ourselves, and how to create a strategy for our social media that feels good, that we're actually going to do. So without any further ado, let's roll in with the interview with Andrea. Welcome to the show, Andrea.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
I'm excited to dive into the world of social media with you, because you're one of the few people that I look up to when it comes to social media. So I'm excited to be sharing you with the audience. So to get us started, do you want to give us an overview of your social media approach?
Yes. So I've been in the social media space professionally for over 7 years. I've been online since 2004, blogging and creating content. And so what I noticed, especially for business owners, is that we put a lot of pressure on ourselves to show up a specific way on social media. And because everything is so public on social media, we unconsciously comparing ourselves to other people. So my approach to social media is to really help business owners find a system and a marketing plan that works for them, but that doesn't drag them along social media. That doesn't require them to be quote unquote on all of the time. And one of the gaps I noticed in the marketplace was a lot of people who teach social media teach it to content creators. So the people who, create YouTube videos daily, or they're on TikTok for 5 hours a day. And as business owners, we have a lot of hats that we wear and a lot of things that we do. Social media just happens to be one piece of that marketing puzzle. And so my approach is really digging into establishing what works on social media and how you can use that to your advantage without being on social media all day, every day.
That's exactly why you're here, because as health practitioner, social media is not, or at least should not be, the number one spent time in our day. It's just one of the things that we do, but really our specialty is to work with people, create program, do one-on-one, do coaching with people, not social media. And what I find often is that it's the opposite that happens. People hang literally all of their hat on social media, and they're not developing the other part of their business. And social media can go away in just a minute. I mean, we see people account being closed, and like literally, if your entire business is centered on social media, you don't own your business.
Yeah, exactly. And I think one of the challenges is that public aspect, in that we think that what we observe for other people's businesses is their entire business as well. But I can tell you, just from working with my clients, people who hire us for done for you services, there's a whole team behind that social media strategy that looks like, they just took that selfie and wrote that profound thought today, but that was planned weeks ago. And so part of my approach is to help with that planning stage from creating the content to growing your accounts to actually measuring for success and seeing what works and everything else in between.
So we're recording this episode in September 2021, right? So what works on social media for business owner, practitioner like us?
Yes. So the first thing that I always recommend to start with is to understand your relationship with social media, both personally and professionally, because you kind of have to separate that time. So the time you spend looking at cute dogs, that's me, is different from the time you spend, crafting your marketing messages. So kind of separating that time. And the time that works right now for a lot of my clients is to spend 1 hour a week actually creating the content. So typically on a Friday, you're working on the week coming up to spend about 10 or 15 minutes a day networking and engaging with both your current followers and potential followers. And then spending about 30 minutes every month, taking a look at your analytics, looking back at what works for you so that you can start making changes to what's coming ahead. So when you break it down into those time buckets, it really helps you start to concretely figure out what works for you specifically. And there's kind of two ways to deliver your content. If you are a speaker, a talker, or you just like to talk through thoughts, then I would suggest creating video content. If you are a writer and you like to conceptualize things in that format, then there's ways we can do written content. And you can pretty much do that on most of the major platforms. Right now, Instagram is the most, let's say, popular one and the most accessible one for health practitioners. That's typically where I recommend people to start.
Why is that?
It's a little bit different from the other platforms. When you think about Facebook, when you think about even LinkedIn, there's like a separation between a personal profile and your business page. Whereas on Instagram, they're all together. Everyone's in community together. So whether you're a business or whether you're using it for personal use, the accounts look the same. The accounts interact with other accounts the same way. And so because of that, it's a lot easier as a health practitioner to come in, even as an individual, but have some of the business features and still engage with people and interact with them just like everyone else is. And so it's a lot easier to kind of connect and grow your network that way.
The people who work in our business, the practitioners who are listening right now, they want to do two things in their business. They want to make a difference in the world. They want to make a difference mostly in women's life by allowing them or coaching them through leaving diet culture. But they also want to create a revenue to grow their business. Are both the same on social media, and or how do we achieve making a difference in the world and business growth at the same time? And is that possible?
Yes, it's possible. And I think one of the things with, especially a platform like Instagram, is to just have more patience and to stick with your daily habits and your weekly habits to grow those accounts. But there's actually two things about social media that really help with both of those things, creating an impact and building a revenue stream. So when you're thinking about Instagram, one of the kind of cultural things on the platform is to share posts that resonate with you. So when it comes to building an impact, when we think about reaching more people, we want to create those content pieces that aren't so much centered on us and the way that we do things, but are really centered on the other person and maybe the challenges that they're having, or you're really tapping into some of those feelings that they have that no one has voiced before, and that they read your post or they watch your video and they go, oh my gosh, I thought I was the only one who felt this way. And then they share it with their friends, they share it to their stories. And so when we think about impact, thankfully, social media is geared towards building that impact. It's geared towards sharing content that really resonates with you. And then when we think about revenue, there are some things on Instagram as well, specifically, that are interesting metrics to look at to make sure that you do have that revenue stream. But I do like to think of it as more of the top or the middle of your funnel, and the actual sale will happen further down the line. So what I mean by that is, let's say you shared something impactful and someone else shared it. And now there are like 10 or 20 people who never heard of you before on your page. Okay, so now you've attracted them to you. And then the next post, you talk about maybe your free resource, a guide or a workshop. And so now they're in your workshop. And then that workshop maybe offers your program or your one-on-one coaching. And so now they're into that realm of your business. Now, to start tracking those things along the way, if I can get technical.
Go for it.
Okay. A few metrics you want to look at: impressions or reach. So if people are sharing your posts, you should see your impressions or reach go up. Okay, so those numbers should increase. You want to take a look at things like profile visits and website clicks as well. So if you're saying, click the link in my bio, then you should see people from that post specifically going to your profile and clicking the link. If you don't see that, then you want to start looking at the post itself. What about that post can you do or change to encourage people to take action? And even in your Instagram insights, there's a section where you can navigate to your top posts for the past 6 months or a year based on profile visits or website clicks. And that should give you a sense of which posts encourage the most action. And so you can start looking at some of those posts and replicating that content. And that's how you can see how you're actually like leading towards some revenue generating actions in your business. If you see a lot of impressions and reach, you don't see people clicking on your bio or clicking over to your website, then Instagram is going to help with the impact portion, but not the revenue portion. So you just want to make sure that you're looking at both of those things in tandem to make sure you're getting to your business goals.
So 2 things that I'm hearing here. A, we need to make sure that our business is structured, like you referred to a funnel, and that's what we teach as well, right? You're talking to the world, you're attracting people down into your marketing machine, right? So you want to have this structure, this funnel set up so you can send people somewhere, because Instagram or social media is not the place where you make or trade business. Am I correct? Is that the same point of view you have?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it can work for low cost items. So, a $20 workshop or products, if you sell products along like essential oils or things like that, sometimes social media can work for smaller, low cost items. But when we're talking about the personalization of our services and like the commitment that our clients and customers make to us, typically that does happen in another format, usually email or a free consultation or something like that.
A workshop, a webinar, somewhere else. Social media is like I call it an avenue. It's a channel of marketing. Back in the days, I used to have a clinic and I used to put a sandwich sign on the street, right? I know people are like, I'm old. Yes. 46. Yes. I've been there, done that. And I used to have a sandwich sign on the street. So people would drive or walk in the street and they would see that there was a business here doing X, Y, and Z. My view on social media, it's similar to that sandwich sign on the street. It's like a way of advertising that I have a business that does X, Y, and Z. Okay. And then 2, now that we have the structure behind this funnel set up, what is the best way of getting people to take action from our social media posts?
Yes. And this is a big question that a lot of people have, because if you think about social media, there are hundreds, thousands of posts that we see every single day. I can't tell you a post that I looked at yesterday for sure. So how do we stand out essentially in the mix of posts? So there are 2 things that I want to recommend here. One is to think about your positioning, your brand messaging as a commercial jingle. You know how sometimes we have those commercials where we just know what the lawyer's phone number is for some reason?
Or the music that we dance and still remember the words like 20 years later? Yes. Totally.
That's what you want your social media messages to sound like. And I think too, sometimes as practitioners, we feel like we have to be super creative every single time. We have to recreate the reel every single time. And that's not necessarily the case with social media. We do want to have some sort of repetitive song, phone number, jingle, something about what we say that sticks with people. And then the second piece to that is a lot of the social media captions are actually truncated. You only see a line or 2 of the caption, and then you have to tap read more or see more to actually read the full caption. And so when we're thinking about approaching those posts, having something impactful, attention grabbing in those first two lines is so important for people to read the rest of it. Okay, so grab their attention with something, a bold statement, a question, something that will pique their interest. And then within the body of that caption itself, we want to identify kind of what they're feeling and what are the either challenges that they're feeling now or what are the results that they're hoping to get in the future. And so really addressing those in the post and then having that call to action at the bottom, which is typically your commercial jingle. It's your phrase that people will remember you for. Having that at the bottom that really helps incentivize them to go click the links. Now, because a platform like Instagram, you do have the link in the bio, that's actually Instagram's own, like we developed that as users of Instagram. It's a commercial jingle. People know what it means. Go click the link in the bio. Because there are extra steps, we find that statistically, the people who actually go through those steps are higher quality leads than from other platforms. So we do see more link clicks on platforms like Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn, but those people tend to not stay on the websites or sign up for as many options as the people on Instagram. So to really kind of encourage that action, you do have to have something really delicious and delightful for that person reading it, capture their attention, talk about them, and then tell them what the next steps are. And just know that you will have to repeat yourself quite a bit. So, I love that you used the sandwich sign example. That's a great metaphor for social media. You could, the next time, say a billboard, the next time, say a radio ad, the next time, say, there's so many different ways to say the same thing. And so when you're thinking about social media, do want to repeat that, because even the first time you say it, someone may not click over, but they may click over on the fourth time or the 10th time that they hear you say that thing.
So I'd like to have your opinion on something. I'm going to reveal myself here. Insider of my business. Let's talk about Instagram. So I went through Instagram as we're like separating my personal brand from my business brand. So B2C to B2B. So we are now on the new platform of B2B, but I went through my posts on my Instagram personal account and I looked back over the last 2 or 3 years, however long, the top posts, and I'm literally repurposing them. What do you think of that?
I love it. I love repurposing content. I think that, so if you are applying all of the strategies to social media, you should see your audience growing. Right? You should see new people coming in. And so typically I recommend cycling through every 6 months to a year your content. So after a while, you're actually not working as hard to create new content. Maybe you're adding a fresh perspective. Right now at the time of recording this, we're hopefully at the tail end of a global pandemic. And so you may want to add that perspective to something if that is relevant to your audience. But otherwise, repurposing content, I love the concept of it because we work so hard on creating this content. And if it's something that worked and resonated with your audience, it will work again. And the beautiful thing again about social media is even your number one fan won't remember the exact words you used in a post 6 months ago. So definitely repurpose. I will say my word of warning is that some platforms don't like this if it's too close together. Specifically Twitter, they don't like tweets that are the same content too close together. We've tested it out. It seems like as long as it's a month apart, that's okay for them. That's okay for their platform. But just know that some platforms don't like the duplicate content. Really, it's because what's happening is other people are stealing content and reposting it on their own pages. And so they kind of flag some duplicate content that way. But it seems to be about a month is like the okay zone for that.
Okay. So here's another thought for you or another question, because I know a lot of people listening have some kind of what I call a communication channel, either a YouTube channel, a podcast, a blog. I'm into right now taking content out of my podcasts and creating social media posts out of this, either the caption or the image. So it's another form of repurposing. So instead of creating new content for social media, it's derived from my original creation. What are your thoughts on that?
I love it. And this is the approach we take with a lot of our done for you clients. So people who have that content or client communication method. They have a YouTube video, they live stream, they podcast, they blog, they write newsletters, something where your brain lives somewhere, your concepts live somewhere. And then social media can then become an amplification channel. So those concepts live in a bigger format on your podcast, and then you can take little nuggets out, little kernels, and put those on social media. This is great when you're thinking about outsourcing as well. So a lot of the strategies I talk about are specifically designed for people who are doing all of the things in their business, but at some point you do want to start outsourcing. So hiring a VA, hiring a social media manager, this gives them content so that it looks and sounds like you on social media. This way you can work hard once and focus really on that, developing your creative, really library, your assets, and then your team can then multiply that across various channels. All of the major players do this in a number of different ways. They do this even from podcasts to books, like if they're writing a book. They do this from television shows to social media, like in a bigger way. They do this within their own programs as well, to podcast to social media. And so think about the ways when you're developing your content, you're not just developing content for social media, you're developing your place in the world, your difference maker. And then that gets amplified on social media.
I love this. This is what I call the body of work, right? You called it concept, which is part of a body of work. It's your own methodology, your own approach, what makes you unique. And this is my caution, and I'd love to get your opinion. When you create your concept, your body of work uniquely for social media, if that platform goes away, your content vanishes because you don't own it. Like you don't own your social media platform.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the thing to really be careful with social media is it's a tool that you're using. You don't own it. You can leverage it. You can take advantage of all of the amazing features. But at the end of the day, you want to have a way of connecting with and communicating with your audience that's not social media centric. Social media is just kind of a vehicle that will help you get there. We just did a training in our Savvy Social School about social media sales funnels. Social media can be the top, maybe the middle of the funnel, but you really should have something you own, like an email list where your users are connected with you. So if, for instance, Instagram disappears and you decide, hey, I'm going to go all in on LinkedIn, you can still communicate with those people who really resonated with your message and say, hey, I'm over on this platform now, or whatever the case may be. So it is a great tool. It is fabulous. I'm all for it, but really make sure you have a way of connecting with those people who are really potentially your best clients and customers and encouraging conversation in other ways.
Okay. How do we remain ethical on social media? I know this is a big question. Each one of us has different ethics, but we know we meet somewhere as anti-diet culture, non-diet practitioner. We have social justice values that are centric, but how do we respect our ethic while adopting the trends or going where social media is going, but remaining true to who we are?
Yeah, this is a big question. And especially in the past, 18, 19 months, there's been a big magnifying glass on social media itself. And how do we accurately reflect our value systems in our business while still participating on the platform where people are spending their time? And so the first thing that I recommend is really to outline those values concretely, but also be flexible and know that they will possibly change in the future. I know some of my own values have changed in the past, 2 years. And so I like to just pull up a Google document and write out what those things are. So an example would be even the language that I use to describe something. I used to say words like, that's so crazy. And I realized how harmful that is to members of my community. And so I've chosen to use different words. And so it's even things like that on social media where I'm going to use something different. So I have my own internal document of what that means to me. And so I do recommend you write that down, and it probably extends beyond social media.
Yeah. It extends to your whole business, basically, right?
It really does. It really does. And then when we're thinking about some of the stickiest areas of social media, things like, When TikTok first was becoming a platform, there were a lot of issues with people with certain size bodies could post things and it was fine. And then people with other size bodies would post something very similar and it would get taken off of the platform. So, how do we navigate that as a business owner if we want to use that platform? And it really comes down to personal preference. So, some of my clients would choose to not use that platform. There are so many others out there. You can choose a different platform, look into, their history, how they treat their clients and customers, and then go with that platform. Some of my clients, and myself included, try to show up and be an example of what's wrong about the platform as well. So speak up against those issues if that is something that you want to advocate for. And it does take people like that to shift the conversation on the platform. So today, TikTok doesn't have those same issues. They have different issues that we're talking now, specifically of people of color. It seems like some of their videos aren't trending as frequently as non-people of color, continuing to work with those platforms and addressing the issues that are important to you. But at the end of the day, it depends on where you are in your journey. And I will say, if you're at the beginning of your ethics journey, sometimes choosing not to participate may actually be better for you than choosing to be an advocate and stand up. And if you're more mature in your journey and you're farther along, then choosing to be that voice and be that leader can be a great example for you or a great option for you. But at the end of the day, know this as well. Business owners are leaders. So your clients and customers look to you for what's right. They look to you as an example of what's possible. And so when you are showing up on social media, just remember that people are looking and listening at that. And in fact, 90% of the people who follow you, they'll never leave a comment. They won't even like a post, but they are paying attention. And so just know that you have those people out there who respect you and look up to you, and you can be an example to them of what's possible.
That's a great answer. Let's talk about audience growth, because that's probably the number one question when it comes to social media, right? How do we grow our platform? Like, the advice will range from posting 3 times a day, being on the platform 7 days a week, like overwhelming, time consuming, stressful. But I'm sure you've got a different perspective on how someone can grow their platform while growing their business as well.
Exactly. Yeah. And that advice of being, posting 3 times a day, being 7 days a week, it's really geared to the people who have lots of time to do that. I think in like teenagers in my head, like, what else are they doing but dancing on TikTok? I don't know. And a lot of us as business owners, we just don't have that kind of time. So while posting 3 times a day, being 7 days a week could work, it just doesn't for a lot of business owners. We just don't have the time for that. And so there are 2 things really at the core of audience growth. The first is your audience doesn't know who you are. They don't know you exist. And the second is your current audience isn't advocating for you or isn't talking about you in rooms that you're not in. Okay, so those are the 2 fastest ways to grow. So let's talk about the first one first, which is they don't know you exist. So you have to get out there and kind of get in front of them. If you are thinking about social media, there's 2 ways to do this: either put time behind it or put money behind it. A lot of my clients do a combination. So paid advertising and some organic networking. So paid advertising can help. I do recommend, though, if you're thinking about paid advertising, to kind of know what works first, know the kind of posts that work, know the kind of things that work. If you're really short on time, you can pay to get there, but just know that the first couple of times you do it, you're literally paying for data and knowledge. You may not see a return on that investment. The way that a lot of my clients and customers start out is with organic networking. So that is looking at other accounts. One of the best ways to do that right now is to show value on accounts that are in similar industries but are not competitive. So in this space, for instance, maybe it's going to someone like, I've been really loving Yoga with Adrienne's like yoga videos. I do a video probably like every couple days. She does not have a podcast. She has a low-cost membership. If you're a health practitioner, there's tons of people in our audience who are looking for exactly what you offer. And it's not about selling, it's about showing up and adding value, commenting on her posts and showing up that way. For me, for example, it's looking at people like Rachel Rogers or Amy Porterfield and like going and adding value on their posts. So that's an organic way of growing your audience. Don't spend a lot of time on this. Like I mentioned, 15 minutes a day. I do this right before my lunch break and just spend some time on the app. So that's the first way to audience growth. The second way kind of ties into that, which really is building on the momentum of audience growth. And it's creating content that people will actually share. It's creating content that people see it and they go, I have to text this to my girlfriend. This is too good. And so that takes practice. And I think sometimes as business owners, we think we're going to get it right the first time. And I think this is an adult thing. Like I recently, one of my pandemic hobbies was trying to roller skate, like quad roller skates.
Yeah.
In my head, I thought, I'm just going to hop on this skate and I'm going to be like jamming and bumping along. No, I looked like a little baby giraffe out there who could barely stand up. It took time, it took practice, and I was really frustrated at first. But I recognized that I'm literally learning a new skill. I've never done it before. And so it just takes time. And so when we think about marketing on social media, it's the same strategy. It's just going to take time to build up those muscles. And for a lot of us, our skill set increases as our audience increases. So know that you're developing a new skill and your audience is growing along with you. But creating those content pieces right now, like what's working right now, simple quotes. I'm talking black text, white background.
I know, I noticed that.
No
like a
frills.
note app on the phone. So that just says like it's not about the fluff, it's about the content.
Yep. It really is. It's the kind of content that, you know, people just feel seen. They feel heard. They feel like they're not alone on an island. And so that's the kind of content people share. And then when we're thinking about video content, it's a lot of those Instagram reel content pieces that also people feel seen, where maybe there's a little humor or maybe it is straight talk video, but they feel like someone's out there, someone somewhere out there knows them, understands them. And actually, they just talked with someone else about this, so they're going to share this video with them too. And so it takes some skill to develop that content, but those are the two most effective ways of growing your audience right now. And honestly, it doesn't have to be a photo shoot. It doesn't have to be a perfectly polished video. Those aren't working right now. What's working is the video in your car. Yeah. Or the notes apps. That's what's working.
Get too polished doesn't connect with people because it doesn't look natural. They don't feel seen and earned because it's too perfect.
Yeah, there's a place for polished videos, you know, things like if you are doing a workshop or if you have a YouTube video, there's places for that. But we're just seeing on social media, the more real, the better.
I did a Facebook ad a few months ago with literally an iPhone video on my desk. It was shaking at some point from my hand, and it did better than a fancy video recorded on my camera, my 35 millimeter camera. It did better.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. And I think this comes back to, I do just see this cycle of social media, and it comes back to this concept of connection. So a lot of the reason why social media platforms were invented in the first place was to connect people. And then we kind of moved into like marketers ruined it. We moved into this like mass marketing thing where we were like, oh, we could just buy ads and have lots of people know about us. We're moving back to this connection piece, which is so important. So it's not about just blasting your message out there. It's not a billboard. It's really about a conversation. And it's really about that level of deep connection that's really hard to manufacture. So it does take it does take vulnerability. It does take some of that. Like one of my clients earlier this year, she talks to people who are expecting or trying to conceive or who recently had a baby. And she talked about postpartum underwear. And this post blew up because nobody's talking about these problems that everyone is having if you have a baby. And so it's those kind of posts where people go, oh, I thought I was the only one. And then they share it with other people.
So this is really interesting because I have this debate often with people where, like right now on Instagram, there's the pointing out dancing and pointing out situation, right? And some people ask me like, why you don't do that? Because I don't feel comfortable doing that. And I would not be genuine doing that. I would just be doing that to like comply with the trend. And that would not connect with people. Whatever you decide to do, it has to be something you enjoy.
Yeah. And I say this all the time as well, too, even when it comes to choosing the platform. If I told you, LinkedIn's the best platform for you, but if you log on to LinkedIn and you go, I don't like it here, I just don't like this platform. Even if I told you it's the best one for you, if you don't like it and enjoy it, you're not going to use it. Right. And so it really is tapping into those things that you actually like and enjoy and create content that way. Same, like there's no need to dance, there's no need to point. There's tons of other ways to create video content. And there's so many tools out here. You don't even have to show your face on the video. There's a lot of different ways to create video content. So thinking outside of the box and showing up as, like you said, the genuine aspect, you showing up as you, that's what's going to resonate the most. It's not about doing whatever's trending.
Two last question. If we go on social media and we feel overwhelmed, right? I often see that people show up for a couple of weeks, then they disappear for 4 weeks. Like they went all in 200%, did all the trends, showed up 24/7, and then disappeared for 4 weeks. I'm sure a lot of you are recognizing yourself here. Like, how do we prevent being overwhelmed?
Yeah. The first thing is I like to relate this to starting any sort of new plan, whether it be fitness or an eating plan or something like that. So there's different plans for different people depending on your goal. Like if I wanted to be a CrossFit person, if I started today on a CrossFit plan, I literally would give up in 5 minutes. Like I just know it's just not for me. No, not me at all. But if I said I want to get stronger, like if that was my goal, I would probably start with like 10-pound weights and then work my way up instead of going straight for lifting 200-pound tires or whatever they do. So I think sometimes that applies to social media where we go all in and go, I'm going to do 200-pound deadlifts. And then we feel tired for some reason because that's not really what our goal is. We just think that's what it's supposed to look like. So it's really dialing into that 10-pound weight version of social media. It's going to feel light. It's going to feel easy. Give yourself an hour a week. That's it to create your content. The first time you do it, it may feel like, man, I only got one post done. Great. Next week, try again. And so it's giving yourself those boundaries. The second boundary that I really love here is turning off notifications.
Oh, amen to that.
I don't get notifications on my phone. Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, none of it, because it's so easy to feel pulled back into the app. These apps are literally designed to be addictive. Okay, they're literally designed to keep people on them as long as possible. So you have to kind of resist that a little bit. And my favorite way to do that is no notifications. It does feel weird the first time you turn them off because you feel like maybe you're missing out, but it's okay. I take weekends off. So if someone messages me Friday at 8 p.m., I'm not going to see it till the Monday. And it's okay. It's perfectly okay. If you have a business where you do need to be quote unquote available, it's time to start hiring people, an assistant, someone who can also moderate that inbox for you. But you don't have to be all things to all people. So figure out what that looks like for you and be okay with missing a message or two or responding a little bit later. It's okay.
Yeah. I'll add one thing and now link to what you have to offer. But if I was to give an advice to anyone is have a strategy. There's a plan for you to be on social media. If you open social media and you don't know where you're going, what you're promoting, what you're talking about, that will lead to confusion, overdoing things. But if you, before opening social media, you have a strategy, then when you land on social media, you're like, have guideline of what you should be doing and not be doing. Yeah. And you have an amazing course for that. Do you want to talk to the people about the course?
Yes, I do. Thank you. So, this course is really the boiled down meat and potatoes version of building out a social media strategy. It's what I teach to my students in the Savvy Social School, is what I do with my agency clients. But really, at the core of it is figuring out exactly what to post and when. So you're not like staring at a blinking cursor when you log in, thinking, I have to say something today,
Yeah.
and we just don't have any more energy, right? It's really outlining those growth strategies. So when you are spending your 10, 15 minutes a day, you know exactly who you're looking for, what you're doing, and even has some done for you content pieces in there. So, if you need help designing some sort of graphic to put on there, we put templates in there. If you struggle with writing, those captions that grab that attention, we've put swipe copy in there. So it really is I like to call it the Costco sample version of everything we offer, but really it's so actionable. There's a workbook involved as well. And we really take this mindfulness approach to social media. So the very first lesson is a meditation that helps you understand your relationship with social media so that you can move through the rest of the material with an awareness of like the direction that you're going in. And so that's free. It's at onlineandrea.com/free, and definitely dive in because it'll really give you some clarity.
I could not believe that it was for free, but it is. So like if you do the work that is in that course, I'm pretty sure that you're going to feel a lot more confident showing up in social media and a lot more relaxed.
Yeah.
So we'll put the link for that in the show notes. How else can people work with you, Andrea?
Yes. So the course is really the best place to start. But also, if you like listening to podcasts, I also have a podcast. It's called the Savvy Social Podcast. Stephanie was on an episode, so we'll have to link to that one too. But it really is all about understanding social media and just marketing in general from a perspective of business owners and not content creators. So how are business owners balancing it all? What are they doing that's working? What are they doing that's not working? So we have a lot of interviews on there. And then I also do solo individual episodes about social media strategies. A recent one was, should you be on TikTok? It's not for everybody. And in the episode, probably 90% of the people listen to it should not be on TikTok. It's just way too much. So don't worry about it.
If you listen to the episode, you probably shouldn't be on TikTok. I love that.
Yeah. So we talk about all sorts of things like that on the podcast. And then if you're interested in working with me, head on over to my website, onlineandrea.com. There's lots of different ways there that you can connect with me further.
Well, thank you very much. This was a gem of an episode. Thank you for sharing your time with us. And I will put all the link to everything in the show note. Thank you, Andrea.
Thank you.
Are you ready to launch your non-diet coaching business or perhaps transition your current business to the non-diet model? Awesome. We have a program that will help you just do that and reach your goal. The Non-Diet Mentorship Program is a 6-month journey of business and professional development exclusively designed for health entrepreneurs mastering their own journey with diet culture, food, and body image, while also learning to build, grow, and transition their business with ethic so that they can have a massive impact. Our next cohort will begin January 3rd, 2022, and we will accept applications from November 15th, 2021. You can join our waitlist to be the first notified. Find the details at stephaniedozzi.com/mentorship or use the link in the show notes. Maybe I'll see you on the other side. Ready to shed diet culture from your practice and help more clients do the same? Awesome. We've got free resources to get you started. Simply go to stephaniedozzi.com/pro series, all in one word, and access our 3 free training classes that are currently available. We also have a free PDF guide to intuitive eating and article about the non-diet approach. We also offer a variety of paid programs throughout the year to support you in your journey to undiet your coaching practice. Join us at stephaniedozzi.com/pro series, and I'll see you on the other side.